Okay, this is an abandoned kind of camp. I take it it's a homeless person. Alright. I just find these things kind of interesting, just to kind of go over where people have spent time in the bush and see how they, you know, what the disturbance is to the kind of natural environment and stuff like that. So I take it this would be a homeless person, right? No sign of alcohol, no sign of drugs, okay? So kind of explain, highway is down that way. Alright, we're kind of like in a small reserve. We're not that far from civilization. I come up here on the mountain bike with the kids and stuff like that. It's not really really too far from civilization, so probably about, you know, 20-minute walk that way. There's a bus stop, right? Not really that far from civilization. So really kind of interesting, like you can see here with this tree. Alright, so the person has used some nails. It's a nail here and a nail here. Okay, you can see how this is bled out. They've used this cord, this cheap nylon cord, and you can see here they've hung a bit up here and it's retained the bark. Alright, really interesting. Alright, and just if you look at the area, there's a little bit of debris. Alright, you can see how it's still flattened out, even though nobody's been here for a while. It's really flattened out, right? So if you look that way, we've got ferns going on. There's a few different types of plants. There's some Lamatra longifolius, some spiny mat rush. There's some grasses there. I think that's Blaney grass back there. But this little bit is still flattened, even though it's probably been a couple of years since this person stayed here. It's still kind of flattened out, which is really interesting. So I think the rig was, this is a cheap tarp like you get in Kmart. I think they probably had some kind of overhang or lean-to, and then there was a tent inside. Underneath all that is the remains of a tent. And then this was the sleeping bag, which is just a really kind of cheapy Stockman's Weekend. It looks like a really cheapy sort of Kmart style sleeping bag as well. There's a few containers, looks like Coke and Sprite, lemonade, that kind of thing. I just had a little bit of a scout around. A few odds and ends, tuna cans. Alright, not quite sure what this is. You know, the drink bottle looks like a chocolate milk or something like that. It's always just very interesting. Just how things generate. Somebody obviously spent a lot of time here. Alright, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Alright, I can't see any sign of a fire. Do you know what I mean? If I was staying somewhere like this, I would have a fire. There's no sign of a fire. But just still, the area is still flattened out after 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? You can tell that grass, the back hasn't reclaimed it. Do you know what I mean? I can't really tell much about the person. They probably don't have a lot of money. They're probably homeless. Everything here is quite kind of cheap stuff. You know, it's tins of tuna, tins of beans, cheap tarp, cheap sleeping bag. But then if you walk down this way, you can see just where the little track would be going to the road. You can just see this has been walked a lot more than any of the other areas. Okay, so you got a little hobo camp, abandoned camp. I always look these things over, try and figure them out and how long they've been abandoned for.